You deserve to live a slower life, one that allows you to feel peace and contentment and joy and alignment in your life. And you can have that even though you have things that make your life feel and be really busy on paper, like having kids or a full-time job. Maybe both. That's my story. But this is how slowing down has affected me and my family. I will share what I changed and how I actually slowed down my life, because I have accomplished slowing down my life, like I said, while still being a pretty busy person on paper. I have a full-time job and 2 little kids. I mean, there's only so much by which you can slow down as a working mom, right? Let's be real. But it totally is possible, and I'm going to tell you how I did it, but most importantly, how you can do it too, because I'm here to help you. Hi and welcome. I'm Amanda, a busy full-time working mom, and I teach women just like you how to thrive in your feminine energy despite all the masculine demands of your life. And below you'll find a link to sign up for my free weekly newsletter where I share simple tips to get in your feminine energy, encouragement, and anything under the sun that will help make your life easier, more enjoyable, and get you more aligned with your true self. Before I learned how to slow down, life looked chaotic. I was constantly stressed, overwhelmed, but at the same time somehow underwhelmed. I was constantly on edge. I had zero patience for my kids or my husband or anything that came up at work or anything really. I was flat out of patience. I always felt rushed and therefore rushed my kids around and caused unnecessary stress for my husband. My nervous system was absolutely shot. It felt like I was in a chronic state of flight or fight and projecting all of those feelings onto my husband directly and my kids indirectly. I always felt behind because the to-do list was never ever complete. I was adding to it faster than I was checking things off. And I was perpetually exhausted and irritated by everything. And every negative feeling that I had was heightened because my mental baseline was so low. I had no tolerance or capacity to regulate my emotions. But now, after intentionally slowing down, I feel so much more at peace. I'm nicer to my husband and much more patient with my kids. Everything is quieter and calmer. And most importantly, I feel so much more internal peace and calmness. I truly am content. I get so much more joy out of less. I'm grateful for the absolute smallest of things. I can actually hear my thoughts. I feel more emotionally stable. And here are just some of the ways that slowing down has affected me on a personal level. And then I'll get into how slowing down has affected my family, and most importantly, how you can do it too. Slowing down has done wonders for becoming aligned with my feminine energy. It has definitely been a catalyst for helping heal my wounded feminine energy. I enjoy all tasks more, and it's not that something like listening to smooth jazz while I cook is more fun per se than listening to an audiobook, but it's that the feeling of calm that I get is way more enjoyable than the feeling of being entertained. It has allowed me to live a softer life as a softer woman, and that feels so right and natural and aligned with me. And I'll tell you, there's no better feeling in the world than the feeling of being the youest you possible. I feel a kind of peace that I didn't even know was possible for myself. I'm more confident because I feel more aligned with the person I always wanted to be, someone who is more patient and joyful and at peace. I feel so much more aligned with myself and my feminine energy now that I live a slower version of my life. I feel like the mom and the wife that I was always meant to be and was hiding underneath all the chaos. I'm simply happier. And here's how slowing down has affected my family. And I want to say this real quick. I was the one who needed to slow down. My kids are little, so everything they do and how they experience life trickles down from me and my husband. And my husband doesn't operate in that chaotic way naturally, so it's not like he needed to make changes and slow down. So I just wanted to give you that context that it's possible and show you that you alone can change the life of your family if that's what you feel is in your heart. To put it another way, all I did was change myself. my thoughts, my actions, my choices, and it changed how my core family experiences life. The only change that occurred was that I personally slowed down, and as a direct result, my whole family slowed down. So here's how. My relationship with my husband is now a lot more fun and carefree because slowing down has allowed me to be. We argue less, we have more fun together, and spend more time together. And the time that we do spend is a lot more intentional and of better quality. We slow down to have deep conversations and little moments of bliss in the margins that never felt possible before. And yes, because there is more time available to allow for this, but mostly because I am in a happier place mentally to be able to accommodate those conversations and moments. My kids are less stimulated and calmer. I mean, they're definitely not calm because they're little and they're not supposed to be, but they are calmer, not in a way that takes away from their rambunctious childlike spirit, but calmer as far as their mental state. They're less overstimulated and overwhelmed and stressed, for lack of a better word. They get more intentional time with both me and my husband, which of course does wonders for a child. And as a family, we just feel so much more cohesive and peaceful. And I know I keep using that word, peace or peaceful, and maybe you're sick of hearing it, but it is the best word that I can use to describe this feeling. And I think it's also made me a better friend. I hate to admit it, but since I used to always be so busy, meaning both actually busy because I was doing more, but also my perception that I created in my mind was that I was always so busy and I never had time for everything. I put time with friends on the back burner, but now I prioritize time with them. But of course, not in a way that overwhelms my calendar because I know my limits and I keep things blissfully slow. Now I want to talk about the practical ways that I actually did it so that way you can do it too. The first thing that I did, and the most impactful, I think, was cut out social media. And of course, having all that time back that was previously lost in a doom scrolling vortex feels amazing and helps to slow down life because the more time you have, the slower you can be. But the biggest impact came from just not having all that stimulation. That is what really allowed me to slow my mind down. And similarly, I reduced all non-social content consumption too, like podcasts, YouTube videos, audiobooks, and even TV shows and movies. And I definitely haven't cut these things out completely, and I don't intend to, but I reduced the amount that I was consuming significantly. I no longer feel the constant need to multitask. I used to not be able to do anything in silence. I felt like I always had to be watching something in the background or listen to an audiobook or a podcast at 2 to 3 times speed, mind you. And you don't realize the kind of impact that has on you and your mental state until you experience the feeling of peace that comes from cutting it out. And this one might sound a little weird, but trust me, it was super impactful. I stopped listening to music in the car with my kids on the way to school so that way we could actually chat. And after school, mostly so that way their brains that have just been overstimulated and busy all day at school taking in all this chatter from all these other kids and all this learning so that way they can have the quiet moments. And I realized that and made that decision when I felt the peace that I got from cutting out all this extra stimulation for myself. I stopped multitasking. And I'll admit, this one is still hard because my natural instincts has always been what else can I be doing or checking off the list while I do this thing. But it's something that I'm working hard on and makes such a difference. And I started saying no to things personally and on behalf of my whole family. My kids are only in one activity each at a time, so we're not zooming from one thing to another after school in the evenings multiple nights a week, and that allows us to have a lot more intentional time together that doesn't feel so rushed and like we're just zooming through the motions. And personally, I don't make plans for myself more than 1 to 2 times a week. I've always known that I need a lot of downtime and alone time to recharge. I just didn't always do a good job of honoring that. Now that is an absolute priority for me. I order my groceries for delivery or pickup. I get a cleaner during particularly busy times. I always get one around my kids' birthdays and Christmas time. I simplified all my home systems as much as possible. Everything from laundry routines to my meal planning and meal prep to my morning and afternoon routines with my kids before and after school. I took up low stimulating activities and hobbies and cut out the ones that weren't serving me. And I know that I've already mentioned this, but I'm going to again because it's honestly been the most impactful. I used to doom scroll, but I've since completely cut that out, and I know I sound like a broken record, but it's really been life-changing. My main hobby used to be watching Netflix and playing a video game on my Nintendo. Disney Dreamlight Valley and Animal Crossing are my favorites, for anyone wondering. And that is still a fun thing to do and something that I still enjoy, but I realized that I was often feeling like I was working on something when I played a game. So it wasn't really the most relaxing activity. I still enjoy it, but I don't do it as often because it does cause some, albeit very mild, stress. I took up crochet, which was a little frustrating to learn at first, but now that I've kind of got the hang of it, I find it extremely relaxing and super therapeutic. I've always been a reader, but I started to do it even more because I find it so calming and relaxing, especially romantic fantasy or fantasy romance. I take quiet baths, meaning that instead of watching a movie on my iPad while doom scrolling, I read in silence or with some spa music in the background. And if you watch any of my videos before, you probably know that this is coming, but I took up yoga and I prioritize getting it in, which gives me so much mental peace. My days are always better when I do my yoga. I spend more time outside, both alone, either reading or walking, or with my kids, playing or exploring. I took up journaling, which was really important because I feel like the more silence that I invite in my life, the more thoughts I have, and journaling really helps me sort through them. So those are all the things that I did to slow down, but this isn't really about me. I want to be able to help you slow down so you can experience the same overall feeling of calm and peace in your life and family. And I mean, in short, my suggestions for you to slow down are essentially all the things that I just shared, but let me break it down to the key points because everyone is going to have their own triggers and habits that they need to either let go of or incorporate into their life. So here's the overview. Reduce your stimulation, definitely from social media, but also from things like podcasts and YouTube videos, audiobooks, even music or reading articles. The idea isn't to live in complete silence all the time, but it is to invite more silence into your life. And I'm not just talking about audible noise, but also equally important, I'm talking about information, metaphorical noise. You simply don't need to know so much information. Something like staying on top of the news is not conducive to living slowly, and neither is Googling every single wonder that crosses your mind. Silence the noise, both audible and informational. I don't mean 100%, but actively work to intentionally reduce it. Be okay with saying no and get really comfortable with it to obligations for yourself and for your family as a whole. Welcome stillness and slow times. Obviously, that directly leads to a slower life. The less you do, the more time there is. And the more free time that is available, the slower your life will be and the more peace you will feel. Activate your feminine energy. And I know that I didn't touch on that topic too much in this video because honestly, most of the videos on my channel cover feminine energy thoroughly. So I recommend that you watch this one in particular. It's all about radiating feminine energy as a mom, because healing your wounded feminine energy is imperative to slowing down your life and inviting in that peace. In summary, feminine energy is all about being in flow, which is pretty hard to do when you're living a fast-paced life that is exhausting you, mentally and physically. This is probably pretty obvious, but worth mentioning. In order to live slowly and feel that slowness, you must actually, in fact, slow down. And this means don't rush through things. Even the things that aren't actually fun, like folding the laundry or grocery shopping. Slow down so it feels more calm. The 2 minutes that you might shave off the task by rushing through to get it done as soon as possible is not worth the feeling of chaos that you experience for the 40 minutes or however long you spend on the whole task, rushing through it and focusing on getting through it as quickly as possible. Pay really close attention to the activities that trigger the feeling of stress and rushing and overwhelming you. And equally important, pay really close attention to the things that evoke a feeling of peace and effortless joy and calm. Then, of course, do less of what makes you feel chaotic and more of what makes you feel at peace. And I know that that's really obvious. Like, it's barely even advice, right? But the challenge is paying really close attention and constantly checking in with yourself. Because I bet that once you start to pay attention, you will actually be surprised at what triggers you both negatively and positively. Like my video game example. It was something that I enjoyed, so I would think that it would get filed under the peace category, but I realized that because there are tasks and to-dos and things to accomplish in the game, it actually caused a tiny bit of low-grade stress. And I never would have realized that if I wasn't intentionally questioning how everything really made me feel. Take the pressure off yourself in all aspects of life, basically. Give yourself the permission to prioritize your peace above all else, whatever that means to you. Practice mindfulness, presence, and gratitude in all things at all times. And if this is new to you, it might feel a little unnatural at first. But the more you intentionally do it, the more natural it will become, and the less that it will be something that you have to think about doing, and rather something that just becomes a natural state. You deserve to live a slower life, one that allows you to feel more peace and contentment and joy and alignment in your life. And I promise, you can have that even though you have things in your life that make for a very busy life on paper, like full-time job or kids or both. You just have to decide that that is what you want and inch a little bit closer to that version of your life every day. You've got this and I've got you. Don't forget to check out the description box below for the link to sign up for my free weekly newsletter where I share simple tips to get in your feminine energy, encouragement, and anything under the sun that will help make your life easier, more enjoyable, and get you more aligned with yourself. And next, I recommend this video for radiating your feminine energy as a mom. It's similar to this video in that it teaches you how you can, in fact, activate your feminine energy even as a mom, which, by the way, is ironically a role that can very easily drive you into your masculine energy. So check it out. And now I'd love to hear from you. Please share your thoughts and experiences with living slowly in the comments section below. Your insights could really help someone else on their journey to begin to live a slower life. I look forward to talking to you next time. Thank you so much for being here, and please be sure to subscribe for more videos about embracing your feminine energy and living the life of your dreams. Stay aligned.